The moon has been Earth's companion for billions of years. It stabilizes our planet's tilt and helps regulate our climate. It also inspires poets, songwriters, lovers, and lunatics. But what if we had two moons? In this video, we will find out how it would affect life on our planet. Could the second moon have its own name? And how would the tides behave with two such celestial bodies? Let's look at these questions and many more. Two moons. Firstly, we need to specify that there are no planets in the solar system that have two moons. Some planets have more than two moons, but all the other planets have less. So having two moons is an unusual case. For example, the planet Saturn has 82 known moons, which means that the inhabitants of one of its hypothetical satellites could consider themselves to be the ones who have only one moon, and some planets in the universe don't have moons at all. Mercury and Venus don't have any satellites. This is because these planets are too close to the Sun. The gravitational force of our star tears apart any celestial body that ventures too close. This is why Mercury and Venus don't have moons. Mars and the hypothetical second moon could be an exception. It's believed that about 50 million years ago, Mars had two moons just like Earth. But then something went wrong. Either the large satellite moved too close to the planet and fell onto it, or the small moon was captured by the planet's atmosphere and now it is called Phobos. Maybe something similar could happen to our second hypothetical moon. By the way, scientists do have some theories as to why Mars lost its moon. According to one of them, it could have been the result of a collision between the red planet and another celestial body. However, according to computer simulations, even a strong impact wouldn't be able to knock the moon away. So Mars could lose its satellite only if it were captured by a passing star or a black hole. To prevent losing the second moon, it's better to place it farther away from Earth. For comparison, the distance from our planet to the moon is about 384,400 kilometers. The second moon should be placed twice as far away from Earth. Otherwise, the gravitational force of the two celestial bodies could destabilize each other's orbits. In other words, the moons would either fall onto Earth or fly away into outer space. In addition, the second moon shouldn't be much larger than the first one, otherwise it could become the second center of gravity around which the moon and Earth would revolve. In this case, it would turn out that the Earth would rotate not around its axis, but around some point located inside it. It would be very hard for people to survive in such conditions. If the hypothetical second moon is much smaller than the first one, it'll make a great achievement for amateur astronomers. Our satellite is so bright in the sky that it's almost impossible to see anything around it. With a dim second moon, the sky would become much darker and observers could see many more stars. Of course, this is only possible provided that the second moon doesn't emit its own light. In general, the brightness of our night sky depends on how far away from the Sun our planet is. During the winter solstice, the Earth is closest to the Sun and it's also tilted away from it, so we can enjoy the brightest stars in the night sky. But near the equinoxes, the night sky becomes darker because the Earth is farther away from the Sun and the Sun itself seems to be lower in the sky. When the Earth is farthest away from the Sun during the summer solstice, the nights are again filled with bright stars. But when the Earth is at the aphelion point of its orbit and the Sun is low in the sky, the second moon would become a true decoration of the night sky. At the same time, the second moon will have to be pretty far away from us so that its light doesn't bother astronomers too much. If the celestial body is much closer than the moon, it would be impossible to carry out any observations at night. But what if the second moon is as bright as the first one? Well, then it would completely obscure the stars in half of the night sky. At the same time, a person who is standing with his back to the second moon would see the stars dimmer than usual. After all, the light coming from the Sun would have to pass through the atmosphere of the second moon, which diffuses the light flux. This effect is known as interstellar reddening and makes the stars seem much more dim. That is, when observing the night sky, people would feel like they were living through an endless twilight. Tides. But the presence of two moons would have the most significant effect on the tides. The gravitational force of the moon causes the water in the ocean to shift towards it and that creates tides. The moon's gravity also affects the Earth's crust and it causes the land to rise up. Scientists believe that without the moon, the Earth's rotation would slow down and the length of day would increase to 24 hours and 20 minutes. There are even assumptions that the moon is the reason for the Earth's axial tilt of 23.5 degrees. Without the moon, the Earth would be almost completely perpendicular to the Sun and our climate would become completely different. But what if we add a second moon into the mix? Most likely, the second moon would pull the Earth towards it. Because of this, the tides would become twice as high as they are now. The level of the ocean could rise by more than 3 meters, which would be enough to flood the coastal cities. Perhaps the second moon would weaken the effect of the first one on the tides. To calculate exactly how the tides would change, we need to know the masses of both celestial bodies, as well as their distances from Earth. But in any case, we can expect that the tidal wave would become either higher or lower. Such changes would have a devastating effect on the ecosystem of the oceans and seas. After all, the shallow coastal waters where most marine plants and animals live would be flooded or become open to the atmosphere. In addition, the waves would hit the coast much stronger and could wash away large areas of land. As a result, many islands could sink and some parts of the continents could be completely submerged underwater. On the other hand, some areas could emerge from the ocean and become new islands. These changes would affect the climate on Earth, because the ocean absorbs a lot of heat and therefore plays an important role in climate regulation. A second moon might also affect the length of a day. The gravitational force of the moon slows down the Earth's rotation by 6.1 kilometers per hour every year. This means that about 50 million years ago, when the Earth didn't have the moon, a day lasted about 8 hours. But with 2 moons, the Earth could start spinning faster. The length of a day could decrease to, for example, 18 hours. However, such changes would occur over millions of years. Orbit. Finally, let's talk about the orbit of the second moon. In fact, the moon makes a complete revolution around the Earth in just 27 days. The object that revolves around the Earth does it faster than it moves around its axis. That's why the same side of the moon always faces us. The second moon would move in the same way, but if it were to revolve around the Earth, in a shorter period of time, the tidal force, caused by the gravitational interaction of the celestial bodies, would eventually tear it apart. Some scientists believe that the moon rotates around the Earth at the optimal speed. If it revolved around our planet faster, it would crash into it. If it moved slower, the tidal force of the sun would be stronger than the centrifugal force that keeps the moon intact. In this case, the moon would stretch and become a ring of debris. Therefore, the second moon would have to follow the same trajectory as the first one. As you can see, the presence of a second moon would significantly change life on our planet. A change of even several tens of kilometers in the orbit of this celestial body could have catastrophic consequences. And what would you think of having 3 moons or even more? Tell me about it in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe.